Hello and welcome back to the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel, or if you're watching on TikTok or X. Um, I've just lost my words, so that's a fun start to the stream. But joined by three lovely gentlemen here. I'll start with you, mate. How you doing today?
Decent enough. Getting ready for another few transfers in apparently, so we're gonna get into that. But yeah, otherwise decent, not too hot, so can't complain.
Definitely. Dan, yourself, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm only here because Mihai requested. He was very he was begging me in my DMs saying like, Dan, if you don't show up, I'm leaving my missus and I'm gonna disappear into the Romanian wilderness and I'll be so sad forever. So for Mihai's missus, I am here today to support him emotionally.
Well, I mean, the Romanian wilderness is full of bears, so um, yeah. I've ever since I found that out, I'm like obsessed with that fact that like he's have like the second most bears in the world. So I just imagine Romania as one big bear country now. But yeah, off topic completely. But Tom, how you doing today, mate?
Yeah, all good, all good. Can't be complaining when you're a Liverpool fan in this transfer market, can you?
No, definitely. As July said here, Isaac Wednesday. Don't think it'll be that soon. I mean, hopefully, I do think things will move fast. But yeah, so everyone who's joining, thank you very much. If you are watching on X or even on TikTok, come over to our YouTube channel. The link should be underneath the tweet. Or it's anything Liverpool. You can come over there, leave a like on the stream, helps us grow, and get your comments in, and I'll pull them up kind of through the stream. Any questions and stuff, we'll pose it to the lads. But first thing I'm going to start with, we'll get it over because I feel like we're talking a lot about it. But it's exciting news. It's not very often that you're linked with arguably the best striker in world football, probably the best technical striker in the Premier League. No disrespect to Erling Haaland, but Tom, I'll start with you. Being reports that Isaac is well, not in his own words, but in journalist words, he is desperate to join Liverpool. He wants this move to happen. He's basically forcing Newcastle's hands to a certain extent. I mean, the chat was Liverpool have no pull. That narrative's got to change now, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and you can't really blame him, can you? Obviously, in the past, the whole time I've been a Liverpool fan, maybe that could be ringing true a little bit that we didn't have that kind of pool where players would choose slightly lesser off clubs just because they're in London or whatever. But now people are really seeing the true potential of Liverpool under Arne Slot, and yeah, I mean, to go from Newcastle to Liverpool is probably a bit of a better place to be anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Tom, the price, I'm sure we'll kind of discuss it more. I think the price is kind of the only stumbling block. There's been reports that Liverpool are willing to pay whatever it takes, but that also is like, what is it willing to take? Because Newcastle for ages have quoted 150 million, but kind of similar to Vert, it was always kind of expected might
Yeah.
go a bit lower. What's your kind of what would you stop the price at? Like where would the highest you're willing to go be?
I suppose the question is how high do you value a Premier League title? Because I think if we get Alexander Isak over the line, that's almost certainly the title wrapped up. So for me, 150 million should be, I'm more than happy to pay that as Liverpool if it means we can get him over the line. I don't think it will be that much. Maybe with add-ons, it will go to 150 million pounds. Liverpool are so savvy in the transfer market, especially with Hughes and Edwards. I think we'll probably lowball them a little bit in the first bid, which is why I don't think it will happen so quickly. But I think we'll probably get to around 120, 130 million, and then with add-ons, 150 million, just so they can say they got what they wanted with the 150 million asking price, but we still kind of got what we wanted in not paying that unless we say win the Premier League, win the Champions League, if Isak wins the Ballon d'Or, sort of those sort of add-ons to make it 150 million. I'm more than happy to pay that because I think in that scenario, it'll be very difficult for Liverpool to not win the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, you know me, I'm very pessimistic on the most days. You know, this Isaac situation has changed me. I am very confident, but with the business we've already done and the potential of signing Isaac and potentially more, the pressure is on next season, isn't it? Like it's obviously we didn't do any business net last season, but if you sign Alexander Isak, in my eyes, I don't know about you, you have to win the Premier League at a bare minimum.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the expectation is that by signing Isak, they're essentially saying Premier League or number 7 or bust. I think that normally I would be skeptical of that pressure, but seems to be an internal acceptance that Hughes and Slot are very accepting of. We're going all out to win as many as we can. I mean, if you really think about it right now, it's the perfect time. Chelsea, still a bit of a mess. They've signed Gittins, and like the side, Mariska side, just still looks just absolute bundle of rabbits. City are a bit of a mess still with Guardiola rebuilding that side. Arsenal a bit of a mess. Yes, they bought Gokaresh, but I don't think that it makes them better to a degree, but it also makes them more limited. Like going into next season, I could probably tell you how 95% of Arsenal games are going to go based on the side they have, who Arteta is, and everything else. So if you really look at it from a macro perspective, if you want to win not just one Premier League, but multiple Premier Leagues in this short amount of window for Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah, this is really the best option you have is to go all out, spend it all now. I mean, again, we just sold Diaz for 70 million euros, 75 million euros, whatever it is in pounds. We've sold Kwanzaa. We've raised around 100 million or so pounds in terms of revenue. Yeah, might as well go ahead and spend everything dime, penny, shilling you can to get the best players in to potentially win the next couple of Premier Leagues and make a run at the Champions League. I do think that we do have a glaring hole right now, which is in center back. I don't know how they're going to plan to address this going forward. I don't know how Isak or Rodrigo goes. I know we're going to talk about both of them. My speculation right now, considering what I think they should do and what they should do, is that I think they will sign either Isak or Rodrigo. I don't think they'll sign both. I think they'll sign one or the other. And then I think they will try to make some move at center back before the end of the window. But yeah, like it's titles or bust at this point.
Yeah, definitely. You can't spend 500 million and not win at least a Prem or a Champions League. Obviously, football's changing, and anything can happen. But we were already the best team, and we've only got better. I think Mihai kind of the only question would be is team cohesion, but I think we have the perfect manager to do that. Currently, I think that's one of maybe the reasons why Slot never went out and had a window like this, because he trusted the characters more instead of the players, where Arne Slot seems much more tactically minded. He will figure out, and as well, Edwards have always done this. Edwards and obviously Hughes is kind of part of this, but we sign players who have long-term partners, who have children, players who know people in the team, and I don't think we'll move away from that. So team cohesion for me is not really a massive. I'm not like thinking, oh, all these players need to gel, because I think we do our research really well, but it is a question mark, and it is one that will need to be answered and hopefully kind of shut down when the season starts, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's multiple things to kind of there's question marks to think over, numerous things. First of all, what I wanted to say is, even though, like, I do agree with what the panel has said until now, like I do think that would be definitely favorites to win the Prem, especially if Isak signs too. Looking at it, I think we've seen what Slot did last season, and now with him getting the players that he wanted, and we should only get better in theory. But I just think that football's an interesting game. Let's put it that way. And I wouldn't want to think that it's all or nothing. We have to win a Prem, or we have to win a Champions League. Like, absolutely, with the signings that we've made, I would consider it let's say, a failed season if we don't win any silverware. But at the same time, I still think that even if we don't, next season for next season, 2 years from now, we'd still be in the best position to do so. So I think that's the thing with the signings that have been made in this transfer window. I think we've set ourselves up very nicely for the future as well, and not only for next season. So that's why I think that with everything going on, I'm excited for years to come now. Especially if you look at the squad, with maybe 2, 3, 4 exceptions, there's mostly young players who can play for us for the next 5, 6 years and still be at a really good level. For me, the thing is, and I've kind of touched on it a bit yesterday as well in the chat, but happy to elaborate now. The Isak rumors are a bit strange, because honestly, I didn't expect us to go after Isak after signing Ekitike as well. Because now I have this thing in my mind where it kind of bugs me because I don't really see where we're going, and I don't understand it. And obviously, I think Arne Slot is slightly better at football than I am, so I think he has the mind to, um, you know, as you said, integrate pretty much every signing that we make. He has a plan for everyone, but for me, it's like it almost seems that if we're going for Isak too, we've rushed Ekitike in because now I'm not sure where he plays, right? Because if Isak plays centrally, then we'd play Kitike on the left, but then he's slightly out of position. If he doesn't play, then do we bench him and we paid 90 million for a backup? Do both of them play and then we play a 4-2-2-2? But then I feel we're extremely vulnerable on the counters with Kerkez and Frimpong both being offensive. Um, Honestly, I was very, content with the plan of getting Rodrigo and a center back in. Now with the Isak rumors, I feel like I do agree with Dan. I think that if we sign Isak, we're not gonna get Rodrigo, and that's fine by me. It's a bit confusing, and I don't really see where they're all going to play. So yeah, that's what I'm saying because I see Jay's comment in the chat. Ekitike is cover for Isak and Jota. I do agree, but then if he's only a cover, then why have we paid 90 million for him? That's my question. It's like he either plays next to Isak or on the left, or he's on the bench. It's just it's a bit confusing at the moment. That's why I'm kind of curious to see
I,
what Slot wants to do.
I think it really depends on, do you play Gakpo left or Ikitike left if we get Isak. I think it's essentially, it gives you so many options. So let's say that Isak doesn't get signed. Okay, fair enough. Ikitike is the 9, sign Rodrigo on the left or the right or whatever, and he can play across. And you just go with that going forward with either Nunez as your backup 9 or Verts as the false 9 or whatever, because they've been playing Verts there for this preseason, though granted that's because Ikitike just got signed and he's not training and Nunez was out, so it's more of a make do amend situation than maybe a full-fledged plan. But I think that if you sign Isak, that means Ikitike is essentially your second 9 / second left forward, left winger behind Gakpo as well. And even in a situation, you could play Isak and Ikitike together and play Verts on the left wing if you really want to do that, and play more of a narrow 4-4-2 with Salah as your right wing or whatever, like an asymmetrical 4-3-3 or whatever, because our width is going to come from our fullbacks this year. That's mostly the big thing. So even if Ekitike is on the left wing, he's like left wing playing striker pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, let's just ask. So if, let's say hypothetically, now we're in a dream world here, Liverpool have signed Isak and Liverpool have signed Rodrigo. Our attacking options are, on the left, we've got Gakpo and we've got Rodrigo. Up front, Isak, Ekitike. On the right, Mohamed Salah. And then, obviously, in attacking midfield, it's looking like it'll be Vert and Szoboszlai, but Elliott's still there, so who knows. But them kind of 7 if we sign them, decent backup. Now, obviously, we know Arne Slot is very, very, very tactically minded and shifts through 4, 5, 6 systems throughout. There's multiple systems when they're in a certain phase of play, when they're in a certain half, when a certain player has the ball. So it's all tactically changing. So I think the formations in football are maybe a bit abundant nowadays, especially with the more, you know, or redundant, sorry, especially with kind of the more tactical managers like your Arne Slot. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to line up somehow. If they sign Tom Ekitike, Isaac and Rodrigo, what would your kind of front four, let's say? I think I think we can be safe and say a front four is probably what we will line up with most times. Where's kind of your head at if those two were to sign?
For me, it's a relatively easy one. I think Vert's in the 10 kind of role, Salah on the right, Rodrigo on the left, and Isak up top. But I think it happens. It happened last season. Everyone was talking about how much depth Liverpool had in those attacking areas, and Arne Slot dealt with it so well. Everyone gets their game time, and we're also forgetting there's injuries that happen often, and Salah is going to be off in AFCON in January, so we need this kind of depth. Otherwise, we'll be left short. So yeah, and we've also got Rio Ngamoa. I mean, I know he's young, and I know people don't really think he'll play that much of a role next season, but why not? He is electric. He tore apart Tamori. I know it's only pre-season, but he is another option that we have there. Um, and I think it also depends on who we're playing against. So if we're playing against a low block team or a worse side, we might end up playing more than four attackers just because we can. Um, but yeah, I think in the big games against the big clubs, it will be Verts, Salah, Isak, and Rodrigo.
Yeah, I mean, Mihai, I know you spoke about before, kind of you're not sure what the plan is. I said in our chat, there's no way we're signing Ekitike without there being a plan. You know, I saw a comment before saying about Newcastle fans, and what do you guys think about Newcastle fans being entitled, spend as much money, so and so. Look, there's been a thing on social media that Liverpool signed Ekitike so Newcastle couldn't get him. That is never, ever, ever happening in any circumstance. We would have looked at Ekitike for months and months and months, and that's what the report was. We were looking at Ekitike since February. He's compared to Isaac, yes, they're very similar on paper, but Ekitike is much more technically advanced than him. He can play on the wings, and he could probably play deeper if you need. So I'm kind of looking at Ekitike as a Jota replacement. Now, 90 million on a backup striker sounds crazy. However, we won the league arguably because of our attacking depth last season. Now, was it amazing outside of Salah? No, but they all contributed something. You know, they were all 6 out of 10s each week, and we just happened to have Salah who was 10 out of 10 each week. So with the likes that was selling, you know, Chiesa, Nunes, and Diaz are all 99% going. You're then only left with free forwards essentially, you know. So I see where you're coming from, but there's no way we're signing Ekitike on a win for 90 million. They must think he is a player that justifies that price. But as Tom mentioned then, he probably doesn't get into the starting 11, which is crazy considering he's a 90 million euro striker, you know. So when we are lining up, it is a bit, it's a bit mad that he probably is going to be on the bench. But I'll give the same question to you. What's kind of going into the season? What's your kind of striker, your forward line looking like?
That with us signing Rodrigo too.
Yeah, hypothetically, we sign Isaac and Rodrigo.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of picks itself out, I think. So it's kind of yeah, it's exactly what Tom said. It's veered centrally, and then you have Mo, Rodrigo, and then Isaac up top. There's a good point I've seen in the chat. So there's the AFCON as well. AFCON's gonna be, coming around in January, February, I think. So yes, there will be like 3 or 4 matches in the Prem, I think, in between those weeks where we're going to need maybe some extra cover. But I think Frimpong has been brought in with that in mind as well. I think during AFCON, I think we're going to see Bradley and Frimpong maybe during some of the matches, and I'm actually really, really interested to see how that turns out. But yeah, I think to answer your questions, yeah, that's the easy answer. It's also it's also difficult to accept maybe for someone like Odi Hakpa, who's been maybe I'd say our second most consistent player in our attack last season, even injured, even with the injury that he had. I think for him not to get into the starting 11 now is a bit brutal, but I think it's a good headache to have.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dan, this is going to shock you, but I'm going to have to mention a name, Dominic Szoboszlai. Yes, we've just signed Florian Wirtz, but I have, as much as I am his biggest critic, Dominic Szoboszlai is unbelievable against teams that have the ball. He is. He single-handedly won us games last season against Spurs and Manchester City, pretty much both times. And I will also caveat that if you take away them games, he has like 4 goals and assists. So that's where my criticism comes in, which is it's valid. But against top teams, it's going to be very hard to leave Dominic Szoboszlai out when you consider that running power. And obviously, as Mihai said then, as good as Rodrigo is, he's not going to have had a full preseason if he does join. He is small. The physicality of the Premier League is very different. And Cody Gakpo is a 6'4", winger who's Premier League proven. He's very fast. He knows what he's doing. I'm not convinced that if we do sign Rodrigo, he comes in straight away, personally.
No, I don't think you would either, because you would also need a preseason as well to get up to speed. I mean, we were speculating. I think you said if we said all of them. I think the only way we have all of them is if Nunez and Chiesa go. And I think for someone like Rodrigo, he's someone you can bring in and just rotate in wherever you need, with the expectation that he is probably the Salah replacement in about a year and a half, more or less. But because of Salah's contract, I think Salah's going to play every single game that matters, essentially every Champions League game, every Premier League game that you can throw him in. To your Szoboszlai point, yeah, Slot obviously rates Szoboszlai very highly on his output. I agree, his output is not what you want, especially compared to someone like Florian Wirtz, who is essentially a 10 and 10. To be fair, Szoboszlai's output has never been high, even at Leipzig and Salzburg. He's never been a huge contributor of both assists or goals. Actually, in terms of his overall output last year, it was essentially similar to what he put up at Leipzig as well. So he very much performed at what he usually does. Granted, you can argue that's kind of the problem, that he's putting up numbers that you want at Leipzig when he could easily be putting up more, which I agree. I think he should also be scoring more goals and get more assists. I think that regardless of if it's Isak or Rodrigo or both, I think that either of them just essentially is, like people have been mentioning in the chat, it's future-proofing for when Salah goes. Because that's essentially what they're working from, the understanding of what wins us now and what wins us in 2 years. And I think that they've very much been looking at from that point of view from now when it comes to all of these players. Who is going to win us games now and who is going to win us games in the future in 2 years when Salah goes? Because Salah is going to go in 2 years. He's not getting another contract. He'll be 35, 36. He's not getting another contract. They're not going to have to rely on him. So they are going to have to make those changes as well. And yeah, I think Szoboszlai is going to play a very big role in our side. He's essentially our Jordan Henderson, quote unquote, in the sense of he provides the platform. He gives us a lot of extra, that energy, that dynamism, that athleticism with slightly better just on ball ability. And I think the thing is, I know, I think Tom's mentioned Ngamoa, Mihai's mentioned Ngamoa, I'll mention Ngamoa too. We have a lot of very talented young players that right now are not getting a run in, but they probably will looking forward. I think we have to remember that we are building not only a great squad of 24-year-olds, but also we have a great squad of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds that are coming up. obviously Badge is injured right now, and Morton's on the way out most likely. But we have a lot of really good players that are going to be in this team. So yeah, it's a fun time. Listen, I don't care who we sign, if it's Isak or Rodrigo or both. I don't. I personally could not care less. Like I love, like, they would both be amazing. One would be amazing. At this point, we're just dealing at different levels of euphoria. Charlie, let's be honest. Like, we're how euphoric do you want to be essentially at this point?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I've been pretty convinced that two forwards are coming in for kind of since we even signed Ekatike. I just think a winger makes too much sense. But it's again like, how do you fit it? But at the same time, you've got to remember we're losing four forwards. Obviously Diogo Jota's is obviously very tragic and probably wouldn't have happened. But as I'm sure we've discussed, it's, unfortunately, life goes on, as sad as it is, and Liverpool can't just not replace that squad position. But it's a very interesting kind of topic. I think Arne Slot's gonna have a lot of, not problems, but he's gonna have a lot of options. Some good, some bad, and if Liverpool decide they need that many players, then sign away in my books. Okay, really quickly, guys, if you are watching on like Twitter, TikTok, we are live on YouTube as well. We pretty much go live. We're going to be going live 3 times a week. Bit of a preview. We've got a stream with Ben Jacobs tomorrow at around 6:30. Going to be discussing some transfers. So if you do want to get involved with that, make sure you come over to the YouTube, subscribe to it, turn the bell notifications on so you don't miss any videos or streams. And yeah, make sure you like the stream as well. That helps us out a bunch. So yeah, okay. Since we've already spoken about Rodrigo, I'm going to go on to it a little bit more in kind of the left wing position. There's been reports in Spain that Tottenham have been speaking to Rodrigo's representatives about a potential move. However, he is given priority to Liverpool/Arsenal. Now, Tom, Spurs, don't think they have the pull, unfortunately. Let's be real. I mean, they do need to replace. Heung-min Son, who looks like he's going to the MLS. However, I don't think Rodrigo is that star man. I don't think he's the player who's going to come in and be, you can put all of the weight on his shoulders and he's going to thrive under the pressure. I think he's very much a 20 to 30 goal decent squad player who's going to, give you moments of brilliance. Now, maybe he can go on to become that player. However, it does look like he's on the move, and it does look like, if you believe the reports, Liverpool are one of the clubs interested in him. There's always also a report that Real Madrid are accepting that they're going to lower their price tag, and I think some reports said it's going to be around £75 million that he might be available for. Surely Liverpool have got to be in the mix. I know Rio Engamo is a big question mark, but let's remember he's 16 years old. With Salah going, we could sign Rodrigo. Rio is kind of a last choice option, cup games. And then in 2 years, when Salah leaves, Rodrigo is Salah's replacement. And then Engamo will be 18, 19, and he can come straight into that left wing spot. I don't think this is something the club will pass up on if the price is right, personally.
Yeah, no. Like we've said already so many times, Hughes and Edwards are so savvy, so good in these transfer markets, and they don't miss out on these opportunities. And this won't be something that just comes up and they're like, oh, we should do this. They will have thought about this across the last year. They knew the unsettled nature of Rodrigo, the fact that he's sort of being forced out on the right because, I mean, he's got Vinicius Junior and Mbappe in front of him. So he's obviously going to be unsettled. New manager. Liverpool will have been thinking about this, and also Liverpool would have been thinking about Isak as well. This isn't something that's just jumped out. They haven't rushed and bought Ekatike and then found out that Isak was available. They would have known via Isak's agents that he was available. So, in my opinion, if the rumours are true and Rodrigo is available, I think Liverpool will be the first club in there. I don't think Spurs are competition. I do have a lot of time for Spurs, but They're definitely going through a big rebuild right now. And if you're a player like Rodrigo, I think you'd rather sit on the bench for Real Madrid than be a star man at Spurs. Because I mean, what's their ceiling at the moment with Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, um, Liverpool, obviously ahead of them. I don't think Rodrigo takes Spurs anywhere near that top four. To be honest with you, and then with Arsenal. I think Arteta's a bit of a joke. He's made a massive mistake again, signing Madueke as their kind of left wing replacement when he's never played there. Unless somehow that's a backup for Saka, I just don't see that. So if it's just between us, Arsenal, and Spurs, I think we're in the best position to sign him, and he'll suit Liverpool. He's a luxury player, of course, but he'll suit Liverpool down to a T on that left hand side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Dan, it sounds like a lot, £75 million, especially when you consider, Isaac will be 130, Ekitike is going to be 69. We've already signed Florian Wirtz. But this is a 24-year-old who could realistically be at the club for the next 8 years. And when you look at it in that fashion and the fact that we're going to be spreading this transfer over, 4 or 5 windows at, maybe 10, 15, 20 million, if he does become good and, he has that, he's at the club for the next 8 years, you don't look back on the figure. And yes, I'm sure opposition fans are going to be looking at the figures, but I think if you sell Luis Diaz for what we have and replace him directly with Rodrigo, apart from maybe Ken and Yildiz, I genuinely don't think there's another option on the market who is better to come in straight away.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm curious about is the fact that Rodrigo is very much a midfielder, wide midfielder / winger. He's not really a full inside forward in the way Gakpo is or Ekitike is or Wirtz can kind of be as well. Maybe that's the one thing that we seem to be moving away from the winger because we signed Chiesa. Chiesa had his injuries and then he really wasn't up to the pace. He's had moments, but it's at least been obvious to me that he's just not the physicality, not quite fast enough to play in the Prem for a side like Liverpool. He could easily be at like a Spurs or a Brentford or even a Chelsea and probably produce, but he's just not built for it. Kind of like Pedro Neto to a degree. A little dig out there for the Chelsea fans who are watching, snooping around. The thing about Rodrigo that he would be essentially be a direct replacement for Diaz in everything from ability to size to production. My one thing that tells me that they may not do it is that they seem to be moving away from wingers and going more for those inside forward types. I'm not saying they wouldn't do it. I think he would be an amazing Salah replacement, that if you have one player who's a winger, they should play on the right and be for Salah and help protect that right side with Gravenberch, Frimpong, Bradley, Konate, whoever plays right center back going forward. The fee isn't the issue with me. It's just it's everything else. It's Madrid, so Madrid are not someone that you really can negotiate with, or rather they are very like. Apparently so. We gave him Trent for like 10 million for a tenner, and then we signed Frimpong, who wants his number now 66. When they said the summer of 66, they were talking about us signing Jeremy Frimpong. I never knew Trent could announce his own retirement and his own replacement in one transfer window. He truly is a genius. No one has ever seen a player with that much vision as Trent Alexander-Arnold. I would love Rodrigo. I don't know if he's the right profile for what they want. I know Edwards wanted him at 13. I know we wanted him when he was a young child. And by the way, not in the Epstein way, just for clarification. But they wanted him in the Liverpool setup. I rate him very highly. I say I rate him for that. I don't rate him that highly, but I do rate him as a player. For me right now, if you had the choice between Rodrigo and Isak, you go Isak. Because he's the least amount of player you have to figure out what to do with Isak. What do you do with Alexander Isak? You throw him up top. You put Wirtz next to him, and you say, all right, everyone else, you figure it out. And then you tell Salah and everyone else, you just figure it out. Like, go figure it out. Very, very Ancelotti. Ancelotti won multiple Champions League by just putting a bunch of players on the field and said, all right, guys, just go figure it out. Go figure it out. You're smart enough. Go figure out how to play. We'll address the rest at halftime. And I think there is just something for that as well. As much as Arne Slot is very tactical and nuanced, I think at some day you just have to be very Dutch and just be like, you know what, guys, just go play. We'll discuss this after the game.
Yeah. Mihai, I do think it sells itself. Now, look, I convinced myself that Mbappe was joining us because we signed a deal with Nike. I had the perfect plan written out. We signed Nike, they pay half the fee. It sounded great in my head, and it would have worked. But for some reason, Nike weren't watching the streams at that point. However, I've done it again, and I've convinced myself that this works now. Look, Gakpo is great. However, there's a ceiling, and I don't think the ceiling is a world class left winger. I think there's a very good left winger. I think there's a player in a lower league, a lower kind of tier to the Prem, who can be dominant, and we saw that in the Eredivisie. We have Rio Ngamoa, who looks like a hell of a player. However, Liverpool do not rush youth players. They never have. They never will. Steven Gerrard was maybe the last player that was rushed. Trent to a certain extent as well, but again, he was kind of already established when he broke in. They're not going to rush Rio Ngamoa. However, I think if we were to sign Rodrigo, this is the plan. This is what works for me. You have Rodrygo and Gakpo for a year. You say to both of them, look, you two can play multiple positions. You're going to get at least 2,500 minutes a year, which Gakpo is used to. That's kind of been his whole Liverpool career so far. Rodrigo's going to get more minutes at us than he is at Real Madrid currently. So it's a positive for everyone. Rio Ngamoa gets cup games. If people are injured, he gets them minutes. He could easily get 1,000 minutes this season. For a 16-year-old, very good. On the right, you've got Mo Salah, who's obviously contracted up in 2 years, and you've got Jeremy Frimpong to back him up. Now, you sell Rodrigo on, you get 2,500 minutes this season, and then after Mo Salah, you become his right winger. Now, if Rio Ngamoa somehow becomes Lionel Messi in the next year, you just sell Gakpo. And that works out because Gakpo can then go somewhere and get a decent wage like Luis Diaz has. He'll be 27, 28. Liverpool can go out and get again 60, 70 million for him. Thank you for your service. You're a great player, but you're not good enough. I just think that makes so much sense in my head. I don't know if you agree, Mihai.
There's a lot to unpack in those few minutes. But yeah, to kind of discuss Rodrigo as that was the main thing here. Yeah, I don't know. If I was confused beforehand when we were discussing if Isak comes in, and now if you put Rodrigo on top of Isak, then I get this. I'm still kind of worried, and I don't see how everyone gets satisfactory minutes. Obviously, once again, a great headache to have because we don't really have that in the last, maybe last season, last 2 seasons, let's say, but we're not used to having that much depth. I I I think maybe the reason why I'm a bit anxious having all these conversations about Rodrigo and Isak is because there's the center back position in the back of my mind, and we need to sign a center back as soon as possible because I'm guessing we'll discuss that a bit later on, but three senior players at center back, and with us selling Kwanzaa, it looks like we're bound to sign another one. Um, so yeah, honestly, if Isa comes in, I don't think I get Rodrigo as well. But I can see how we're in the mix and in the conversation because, as Tom said, I don't think Spurs is a realistic destination for Rodrigo. And at the same time, you have Arsenal, who, once again, as Tom said, they've signed Madueke now. But financially, they're not necessarily doing that well. I think their net spend is higher than ours this transfer window, if I'm not mistaken.
Like
So
25 million, yeah.
so they're not in a great position financially because they cannot sell for the life of them. It's like if anyone, if I can give you like a bit of a bombshell. I'm not sure if anyone on stream or anyone watching this is aware. The most expensive player to leave Arsenal, so like the record outgoing is Chamberlain. That's like their record. How do you call it? The record outgoing player, right?
Record outgoing, and the second one is Nicholas Anelka in 2000s.
So they literally cannot sell to fund any moves, and now with them signing Madueke and now being linked to Rodrigo, I don't see it. They've signed Jokeres as well. I don't see Rodrigo going to them basically because of that. Financially, I don't know if they're in a place to do that, and yeah, I think for Rodrigo himself, it would make more sense for him to come to Liverpool. I think that's his wish, basically, anyways. But the whole Isak saga just complicates things, and I would have really liked to get a center back in, to have during preseason as well. But I'm guessing, the um, behind the scenes were a bit, let's say, caught in the Isak negotiations. We kind of have to wait on Newcastle to sign someone, and then we can officially probably bid for Isak. So yeah, it's going to take a bit of time. Hopefully, we're gonna, see everything, solve everything.
Yeah, I mean we're very not privy to stuff. There's 5D chess going on behind the scenes that we'll never truly know about, and Arne Slot himself has. We'll talk about centre back in a minute, but Arne Slot said after the game that they haven't replaced Jarrell Kwanzaa yet. So for me, in my eyes, that says we're a 1,000,000% signing one centre back. I just think if it's Mark Gahey that they're gonna have to wait until kind of the end of the window because Palace are being stubborn, but at some point they're going to realise they need to sell them. Yeah, just really quickly before we do go on to that last topic, guys, make sure you do leave a like on the video. If you're watching on Twitter as well or TikTok, come over to the YouTube. It's Anything Liverpool or should be underneath the tweet. Leave a like on the video. It helps us out a bunch. Also subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000 subs already, which after like 2 weeks of posting, is amazing. So yeah, and turn that bell notification on too. Make sure you don't miss a video. Okay, let's move on to the centre back situation because I know there's been a lot of comments. Before I kind of give the questions to the guys, everyone puts some centre backs that you want to sign in. We'll discuss Mark Gahey. So if there's any centre backs you think might be a potential option, I will bring up a certain Irishman that I know Carter would be proud of me for doing because I've seen him at the top of a lot of lists. But Tom, I'll start with you. We all know we need a centre back. It's not rocket science. We've got Ibrahima Konate, who for the best of times can't stay fit. Bear in mind, I will give him the benefit of doubt. Last year, it wasn't really a muscle injury. He got taken out. Endrick basically ended his season. So kind of it's harsh to say he was injured last season. Joe Gomez. Now we know Joe Gomez is as much use as a wet paper towel. As much as I love Joe Gomez, he's a legend. I hope he scores in the next 2 years or however long we have him. And I'm at the point where we should just bring him on for a penalty at one point. And to be fair, centre back in the academy is probably not one of our strongest positions either. We have Nallo, but he come on against PSV and that's a bit of a nightmare. There's a couple of other ones in the youth, but it doesn't seem like they want to rush anyone into it. It's a position that's desperately needed. I know Slot said Endo is an option, and as much as we all love Endo, and he is good, he might be good against your bottom tier teams. If you come up against a Leeds, if you come up against Wolves or somebody, fine. But you can't. If it's kind of it, I think we've all got PTSD from the season after we won the league, where we went into the season in the exact same situation. We went in with 3 senior centre backs, and every single one of them got injured, and they were all long term injuries. Surely the club aren't going to let that happen again, are they?
No, and I think, like you said, that season I think will be a good it's a good thing that that happened, because we know the mistakes we made there, and I don't think we'll make them again. I'm slightly concerned about whether he thinks Robertson's a good option at centre back, because I personally don't. I know he trialled it against Preston. I don't think Robertson was really good enough to be left back last year, let alone centre half this year. So that's a bit of a worry. Like you said, Endo, I'm just hoping that these are all just, I don't know, tactics maybe to put people off our scent, and maybe we'll go and get the centre back we want. I'm a little bit disappointed. Hato seems to be going to Chelsea. I thought he would be a great signing to be cover for left back and potential centre back going forward. Um, but look, I think Mark Gahey is the answer. I know some people don't rate him as highly as I do, but I think he is a top class centre back. England's best defender. Um, and he's only 24. He plays, or is he 24, 25? He plays like he's 30. You know, he looks like he's got so much experience. A great leader for Crystal Palace, and just an overall great defender. So I think what we're doing, like you said, is just wait until the end of the window when Palace realise, shit, we kind of need to sell him, otherwise he's going on a free. But the other option is, hopefully not, but the other option is maybe we go into this season with three senior centre backs, and then in January pull the trigger and get him for even cheaper than we would now. But I'm kind of hopeful that Gahey will sign before the end of the window, and I'm not too worried about the fact him not getting a preseason, because he's getting a preseason at Crystal Palace, and I don't think he'll come into the side straight away anyway. So yeah, I think Gahey is the truth, is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, Dan, kind of on Gahey, I actually think that would probably be a good idea with the kind of whole January thing if we signed a young centre back. Because kind of reports that have been going around is that Liverpool want a young left centre back, potentially two centre backs. Because look, Gomez is going at some point because he's not getting another contract, and Van Dijk's going in 2 years. So we're going to be at a point in a couple of years where we centre, it's attack this season. It's going to be the centre backs in a couple of years potentially. We can talk about Ibrahima Konate. I will say on stream, I am absolutely 100,000% convinced that he's signed a contract and he's going to become the new vice captain. That is so out there, but I'm so confident that it's happened. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling. But off topic, Konate is another option that could potentially leave as well. So you're looking in 2 years, you're losing Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, Ibrahima Konate. And when you look at our centre back options now, it's Van Dijk, Joe Gomez, Ibrahima Konate. So it's not ideal, is it, Dan? You're muted.
I just realized my microphone was off. No, it's not. This is where. So if you look at the two center backs we were strongly linked with, Lenny Euro, who was the left, this was 2 years ago, and we did some streams on it. Dean Hoyleson, before he went to Bournemouth, we were doing streams on that when he was doing at Juventus, and then obviously this past year we were doing streams on him potentially coming to Liverpool before Madrid swooped in and signed him. So Liverpool have been active in the young center back market, looking for a young center back to play the 4th/5th place role in order to eventually replace Van Dijk on the left side. Now, is Cresswell a left-sided center back? I didn't watch the U21, so I have no idea how good Charlie Cresswell is as a player.
I think he was the left-sided centre back from what I can remember, because I think Kwanzaa was the right-sided centre back.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you could see a Cresswell or a Leone, Giovanni Leone from Serie A as well. Whoever they sign, they are going to sign someone. The Gahey makes sense as a right side center back. I'm not the biggest Mark Gahey fan, and it's not because I think he's a bad center back. I just think that anything above 45 million, 50 million pounds is just way too much for Mark Gahey, because I think he's very much he's like Nathan Collins, I think is who you're going to bring up, Charlie. He's someone who has a high floor, but like a low ceiling in terms of ability. Like, I like Nathan Collins. I think Liverpool could have taken a flyer on Nathan Collins a couple of years ago when I think he was at Burnley at the time, or maybe it was Leeds or somebody else. I think they could have brought in Nathan Collins before he went to Brentford. But listen, they didn't accept Vandenberg. They thought he wasn't going to hit the height, so they sold him to Brentford. We've obviously now sold Kwanzaa. Nalo, who I do rate, and I actually watched back the PSV game. He was just unlucky. He just read the ball and then he was trying to click it. He was trying to clear, and then he ended up catching the player. So it's just an unlucky bounce of the ball and kick. I still rate Nalo very much. I don't want to take too much from preseason because Joe Gomez does have his little injury. Slot is obviously trying to manage Van Dijk and Konate's minutes for 45 each half. So the fact that Tsimikas and Robbo have been deputizing as left center back, I wouldn't take that as like the plan. I think they have very much somebody in mind that they want to bring in eventually, either before Isak, after Isak, or whatever resolves the Isak situation as well. Because again, I think with Isak, it's really going to come down to what are they going to do with Darwin and Chiesa. Once they kind of get that figured out, I think that will expedite the Isak situation. Or if Newcastle signs Šeško, which doesn't look like it's going to happen right now because Šeško looks like he might be making the worst decision of his life and going to play for Manchester United. The worst thing you can do right now for your footballing career is going to play for Manchester United, and nobody can convince me otherwise. That's why they have to sign everyone on $300,000 a week, because there's no way in hell you'll play for United otherwise. Listen, I think that they're already looking at a couple of options. I think with Palace and Gahey, because he's in this final year of his contract, they can kind of sweat him a bit. Liverpool can kind of sweat Palace a bit for that price. They don't have to pay him, like you mentioned, January or next year.
He's also 24, which I think is a massive thing to mention in the Gahey thing. You can afford it. It's why Real Madrid can wait another year for Konate, because if he was 25, he then becomes 26, and it's a bit more like... It's another reason why we can't wait for Isak another year. I think 24 is the sweet spot. But sorry, go on.
No, I completely agree. And I do agree also that I think that Konate's contract, because there hasn't been a lot of news on it, I think it is done or very close to being done. And I think that will eventually get announced as well. So then it comes to, who do you choose between Cresswell, Collins, Leone, everything else? I don't think they're going to sign a stopgap. If it's Cresswell or Leone or Collins, it's someone that they expect to take over and play 20 to 30 games. I think that we have to think beyond stopgap signings anymore. Liverpool aren't doing stopgaps. We're not signing Chiesas. We're signing Tsimikas. We're signing players that we expect can play 20 to 30 games a season. And I'm not trying to be harsh on Tsimikas or Chiesa. I think we signed them for very opportunistic and they made sense. But I think right now, with the team is at Edwards and Hughes, but Hughes, who is the sporting director, their approach has been, who is the best player we can get, who is going to make us win now and in the future. And it's just going to come down to, who do they think of those three can play that position. But they do need to sign one before the window is over. It doesn't have to be Gahey, but it has to be somebody they think is good, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Mihai, I kind of brought it up, I think, in a previous stream that we was in, that I think if we do sign Gahey, it's sold on, similar to how I was saying Rodrigo is that you and Konate rotate, and potentially Van Dijk if he needs rest, but we know Van Dijk can play a full season. I think you sell whoever you sign on that right side as another Kwanzaa replacement, where they can swap and change. And then once Van Dijk goes, you become Van Dijk's replacement, and then we sign a young centre-back who then becomes kind of the deputy, and can fill in. And if the potential's there, they might replace them. So there's a lot of moving parts, like there is in every Liverpool transfer, it seems, at the moment. But what's kind of your thoughts on what you think Liverpool will do with the centre-back position?
Well, hopefully, first of all, we sign someone, because there's absolutely no way we're going through another season after what happened in 2020-21. There's obviously fun memories about that season, like I'll never forget, and I think I've mentioned it before, but I'm gonna mention it again. The Nat Phillips back heel at Old Trafford. Fun little memory.
Him turning
But
Zlatan Ibrahimovic out inside and out. We during that season, I think we all come to an acceptance that it is what it is. Let's just enjoy it while we have it. And I'm sure we'll look back at that season when we're 70 years old, and we'll be telling like grandkids, like, oh, look at this picture of Nat Phillips and Reece Williams, where they've both got bandages on their head. Nat Phillips has got a broken nose. It's like, these two, they did nothing for their entire Liverpool career, but they're cult heroes. And, that's what football's about at the end of the day. So during the time of it, it was a bit peak, but you look back on it, and as you said, it is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I think with all due respect, I don't want to go through that for another season. So it was great for one season, but that's it. So yeah, I think for me, I think it's difficult. Like I don't know if I'm just getting older and I understand football a bit better, but it's like I just don't see an ideal signing for any position. Even at center back, like I do get obviously the gay chat. He's not necessarily ideal in my eyes, but he is homegrown. He is still young, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, yeah, it is difficult to negotiate with Palace, especially now. Or maybe less so if they actually miss out in Europe. But um, still, it's Palace, and they don't really need to sell. But yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. I've seen, and one name that I've mentioned before, and I've seen now mentioned in the chat is Schlotterbeck. Now, for me, that would be close to ideal. I think that would make a lot of sense, and I would like him very much. But he's still injured, and I'm not sure when he'll be back. I think he'll be like somewhere around October,
He
maybe
got
something like
injured the
that.
last game of the
So
season, and he done his ACL. So I think he's probably out until next year.
okay, so that's even worse. So then, yeah, it would be like maybe if he was fit, we could have a conversation, and I would, make make it a point to mention him as often as I can. But now he's obviously not an option, and otherwise, I don't feel like the moment is right for us to sign. I don't know, someone like Leone who's 18 who can come in. Um, I just feel like Gay, looking at the situation that we're in, where we have Van Dijk, but then we have Konate and Gomez, who are both fairly injury prone. I think we need someone who we can rely on if need be, and I think we are going to need to rely on someone else on a fourth center back this season as well. So that's why I think, yeah, for me, even if it's not ideal, I think I have Gay as my priority for this transfer window. And yeah, there's just no way we're not signing someone, because I think it's a massive, massive risk, and especially looking at as we have a stellar attack, especially if Isak signs. So even if he doesn't, I still think we have such a good attack, and it would be a shame to kind of put that in jeopardy by not signing a center back.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to bring up something that I think was a good point. I'd rather sell Jones before earlier. Yeah, I completely agree. But final thing, again, just really quickly, guys. It's like nearly 100 people on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Leave a like on the video. It helps the channel get out there a lot more. And if you are watching on Twitter or TikTok as well, go over to the Anything Liverpool YouTube channel, subscribe. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be on live for about 30 minutes tomorrow with Ben Jacobs, discussing transfer news. So if you do have any questions, we might ask them on the live stream. We're going to be discussing kind of obviously Isak, and I will mention the Marquez situation because that's been quite a while. But yeah, just one last thing. I'm going to go around the room. I'm going to ask you, so I'll give you a bit of thought because I'll give you my opinion. What is Liverpool's window for the rest of this summer transfer window? Who are we going to sign and which positions? Give the positions, and then you can also give kind of your favourite options. So I'm going to be really, really, really optimistic, not pessimistic. I'm going to be really optimistic. And I genuinely can see us signing 4 players this summer transfer window still. I think Isak, I've never been more confident of a signing in my entire life, and I don't know why. I think it's going to be wrapped up, and Lewis Steele had one of his feelings as well. So the last time he had a good feeling was Florian Wirtz, when everyone was saying they didn't think it was going to happen, and his feeling came right. I also think we're going to sign either one of Malik Fofana or Rodrigo. I think one of them comes in. Just makes sense on paper for me. Then I think a young left centre back is guaranteed, almost again 100%. I think it'll either be a Charlie Cresswell or a Leone. They're kind of my go-tos. And then I also think potentially a right centre back. I think they want Gahey. If they can't get Gahey, I think they might try somebody else. Who that someone else is, I don't know. I think if Brentford hadn't sold 1 million players, Nathan Collins might have been an option. Might have been, but they're just not selling them with how many players they've outtook. And I think that centre back has to be homegrown, so it limits the options massively as well. I think Jared Branthwaite would be good, but again, he's close to a new contract, and Everton aren't going to sell to you for anything less than 80 million. But I'm confident we sign 4 more players, at least 3. I just can't see a world where we don't sign 3. I think we want to give Slot all the tools he can possibly get, and that is signing at least 3 players, in my opinion. Tom, I'll take that over to you. What kind of give me your thoughts?
I might be even more optimistic here than even you were. I'll start off by just saying I think we've still got a lot of business in outgoings, so I think we'll still move on Harvey Elliott. I think we'll move on Nunes. I think we'll move on Chiesa as well. I think all 3 of them have seen their last games in Liverpool. And with that additional money, I think Isak is a definite. I think Gahey again will be coming in, but that will be more later on in the window. Like you said, a left centre back, a young left centre back. I don't see that being too expensive in this market, and I think we might have a little bit of a shock move and go in for a young midfielder as well. I think last season we saw running Gravenberch into the floor just didn't work out towards the end. We were lucky that we had won the league as early as we did. I think we do need a little bit of extra support in that defensive midfield role. So I think, it's not even that crazy to say it because of what Liverpool have already done. But I think there might be some movement in the defensive midfield department as well, just because I think last season it told us that you can't run that role is so physically demanding. I don't think you can play someone there 38, 40, 50 games a season without them getting a little bit tired, as Gravenberch did towards the end of the season.
Give us a name, Tom. We've got Adam Wharton here. I'm sure Arne Carter would like to say. He'd be remiss if I didn't say Belieber. Do you think Liverpool are going to go and drop it at 100 mil on a midfielder?
I don't. That's a tough one because, to be honest, after this season and the amount of wiggle room we have in PSR, I think that is a huge possibility that we could just go ahead and do that, and then I don't know. Adam Wharton would be my ideal, because I think he's so massively underrated by everyone. The fact that we in England were starting Mainu ahead of him in that tournament earlier on, I saw it then. I thought Adam Wharton had to be playing there. So I mean, ideally Adam Wharton, but there might be someone that we don't really know too much. And Edwards and Hughes have been looking at maybe in the French league or somewhere where we haven't seen him yet. Just a young defensive midfielder. I can see that happening, but it might be a bit optimistic to say we're going to go out and get a Belieber or a Adam Wharton.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible, but I didn't think we'd sign Ekatike and Isaac.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah,
Still is
exactly.
a good shout as well. Zaire Emery's been linked as well in the past. So, Dan, what are your thoughts? How many players and who?
I'm gonna be slightly more conservative, which I'm usually not. Well, I think it's most likely gonna be 2 in the sense that I think that they're going to sign one of the forwards. I think it could be a Fofana. If it's not Isak, I think they will go for a Fofana or a Rodrigo, someone who may not take up a registration spot. In terms of defense, and I think it'll be a center back, either a Cresswell or a Leone, someone who, again, either doesn't take up a registration spot because they're not 21 or 22, or they're homegrown as well. And I think that's where they're going to be at. As much as I love Tom, they can bring up the center mid, and everyone's online obsession with the 6 position, which is does my head in at times. To his point, I don't think it would be a Wharton or Baleba. I think Stiller would be more interesting or likely from Stuttgart, just because Stuttgart still haven't sold Voltamade. They do need money at some point, so they will probably sell a Stiller. But I only see a Stiller happening as, let's say Isak falls through. Let's say Newcastle don't sell anybody. Isak doesn't come this summer. They sign Fofana, who wouldn't count as registration. At least I don't think. They sign Cresswell, and they're like, hey, we have 60 mil, throw it off for Stiller at Stuttgart. I think that's something that could happen as well. So I think it's going to be 2 to 3, and it's going to be either Isak and young CBs, no homegrown or non-registration, or it's going to be no Isak and still homegrown or non-registered players with the possibility of a Fofana. I could see for Charlie, but I only see for happening is if Nunez and Chiesa get their deals before August the 1st. That would be my suggestion. If they both get their deals for August the 1st, I think that happens. If they don't get their deals for August the 1st, I'm a bit more skeptical, because doesn't the league start in a week? It starts next week, doesn't it? Or am I crazy? Am I insane?
What, sorry?
Does the league start next week?
No, league starts on
15th.
the 5th. Is it a 7th? Yeah, 15th.
Okay, yeah, I thought it was next week. But like, it starts in essentially 2 weeks.
2.5
at this point. Yeah, 2.5 weeks more or less. So I don't see them trying to buy more players that they can't register, because that is something to keep in mind. Now, if they do get their moves, I do think they will move for 4. But for right now, I think that the most realistic possibility is they're going to move for 2.
Yeah. I do actually think a little Mystic Meg transfer prediction here for next summer. I actually think Endo to Stuttgart in a deal with Stiller actually makes a lot of sense, and we just keep Endo this summer. I think that could be something, or maybe Bacetic, but I think monetary wise, you can't really include him in any swap deals. Mihai, down to you. Are you going to join the optimism train with me and Tom, or be a bit more pessimistic? I think I know where you'll go with it though.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna start off with my ideal window. So I think obviously it depends a lot on who we're going to sell. I think, yeah, if Nunez, Elliot, Chiesa all leave, then there's going to be a few more names that are going to come in. I think for me, ideally, no matter who goes, I think he's is going to sign. I think, judging by what Newcastle are starting to, they're starting to now get in talks with Sheshko, with Visa. I'm not sure if signs aren't necessarily encouraging on that front, but more of it in the upcoming days, I guess. I think for me, Isak is going to sign. I'd like to first to sign, maybe if Isak signs, I think someone like Fofana I would love, but then again, it depends on how Slot sees it, and who's going to play where. And then Gay, as I said, makes the most sense. So as a center back, so I'd take him as well. I think 3 players is the most I can see a sign. I don't see us going for more than 3 players, and we are not going to go for a DM. Do you know why? Because Stefan Bajcetic is going to be back, and I'm going to mention him every single stream, because I really do believe he can get back to, or close to, his best. I just think there's so much potential there, and if there's someone to unlock it, is someone like I mean, a Slot's the perfect manager to kind of unlock it if he finds a way. and I think he would. So for me, I think 3 tops, realistically 2 players.
Yeah, I think we're all kind of in agreement that at least 2 is coming in, which I think would be fine. I think 2 is probably the absolute minimum that you need. You need at least another forward and another centre back. I think that's 100%. If you don't do that, it's neglecting the squad to a certain extent, which is crazy to say when considering the money we've already spent. But it's going to be an interesting few weeks. I think this week is really big. I think they really do want to get Isak pretty much nailed or as close to nailed as possible. There's some murmurs whilst we've been on stream, I think more from in the nose, that he's agreed a contract. But again, caution with them not really too official. And also report from Spain a few minutes ago that Tottenham are going all out for Rodrigo. So we know that Liverpool like to do one transfer at a time. However, if targets that they do like get moved on, like happened with Luis Diaz and like happened with Cody Gakpo, they will pounce and they will get deals done if they do want them. As I always say, if Liverpool want you, the likelihood is you end up signing for the club unless Real Madrid are after you. That's kind of been the rule over the past 5-6 years. So, yeah, but we're going to leave it there, guys. As I said, we are live with Ben Jacobs tomorrow at around 6:30. Keep an eye out on our Twitter for it, but you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Anything Liverpool, with the bell notifications on as well. We're going to be trying to get a video out every day, and also 3-4 streams a week. But Tom, Mihai, Dan, thank you very much for joining me again. Everyone who joined, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. But I've been Charlie. This has